Welcome back, everyone. My name is Mike Prokopeak. I'm the editor-in-chief at Workforce Magazine. We're here for day 3 of the SHRM 2018 conference here at McCormick Place in Chicago. It's been a busy couple days, but we're keeping things moving, and I'm especially excited to talk to our next guest for our live stream, Alexandra Levit. Alexandra, just a little bit of background about her. She is a former columnist for Wall Street Journal, has been a writer for New York Times, Fast Company, author of many books, including one that's coming out in the fall, which feel free to plug that as we talk here if you'd like.
Thank you.
But also on the career advisory board for DeVry University as well, and you'll be speaking today about some of the research that you've been doing with that group. So why don't we start there? Tell us a little bit about what you're here talking at the SHRM Conference about.
Thanks, Mike. Well, first of all, it's great to be here, and today we're going to be talking about some research that DeVry University's Career Advisory Board did this past year on applied technology skills. And most people don't know that the tech skills gap is a little bit more complicated than we at first thought. So there are 2 types of technology skills. There's hard technology skills and applied technology skills. Hard technology skills are things that you would associate with a typical information technology degree. You would go to school, for example, to get a degree in computer science, and you would come out of school and you would join an IT department and you would program and you would set up IT systems. Those are hard technology skills, and most people that are outside of IT don't have these skills. But there's another skill set that actually everybody in professional world today has to have, and that's applied technology skills. So applied technology skills are using people, processes, data, and devices to make intelligent business decisions and to do business more efficiently and get your job done more effectively. And regardless of your role, your industry, your function, you have to have these skills. And there is, of course, a gap, because if you think about everybody who went to college before the recent time, nobody was trained in these types of skills. Nobody was trained in how to use technology, except for people who were going into the IT field. But now that we see that it's essential for everyone, HR groups need to take charge and make sure that their workforces are getting trained in these skills. And that's what we're here talking about today at SHRM.
Great, should be interesting. So I'd like to maybe, if we can get some examples. I think people probably understand what the hard tech skills are, coding, and software engineering, as you mentioned, traditional computer science type things. But applied technology, can you give us an example of of an applied technology skill or a job that somebody who would need to have these sort of applied technology skills versus the hard technology skills?
Well, Mike, my favorite example is actually data analytics. Not necessarily knowing the ins and outs of data analytics, but knowing that you can use analytics to make intelligent business decisions. So a great example is recruiting. You can use predictive analytics to determine who's going to be successful in a given job. But knowing that you should use data analytics to do that is an applied technology skill. To be able to look at all the technology available and say, yes, I should pick that software program and I should implement that in order to help me do my job. That's an applied technology skill. And also integrating different systems that already exist. One of the things I see with a lot of organizations that I work with is that people will just throw a bunch of technology out there. They'll make a big investment and then nobody will use it. So you'll have 5 or 6 disparate systems that nobody knows how to integrate. It's an applied technology skill to say, all right, we have these 5 HR systems that currently don't work together. How do we put them together to maximize our investment in this space?
So how big is the applied technology skills gap? Some of the stats that have been floating around here at the SHRM Conference are that we'll soon have 6 million unfilled jobs. Not all of those jobs are technology jobs, but that's where a lot of the growth is happening. So there is a tech skills gap. How big is the applied technology skills gap from your research? How is this a grave problem, a soon-to-be problem? I mean, what's the scale of it?
Well, we haven't measured the gap specifically. What we have seen, though, is that hiring managers are looking for these skills, and generally speaking, they aren't seeing them. And when they do see them, they look at them as a competitive advantage. We have a research study called the Job Preparedness Indicator, and this year we asked, are applied technology skills something that you look for in entry-level, mid-level, and senior-level candidates? And at every level, very, very high numbers of hiring managers were telling us, if we see that, we want to hire that person immediately. In fact, for leaders, it's 75% of hiring managers and HR professionals would consider that at the top of the list when it comes to competitive differentiators. And this is interesting because if you think about who the leaders are now, they are people who are typically not trained in applied technology skills because they've been in the business world at a time before these became necessary. So that speaks to the importance of HR coming in and taking the helm and making sure that we're training people, especially our leaders, in this skill set.
I'd like to build on that last point you were just making about sort of that generational gap. Why, as we look forward to the future, are these applied technology skills so essential for organizations to have? You could always say that technology is sort of a competitive advantage for companies, or it has been. Why do you see applied technology being so essential for organizations, in particular for HR, to say, hey, this is our issue and we're going to address?
Mike, it's essential for a variety of reasons. And the first reason is not what you might think. In this world of increasing automation and the fact that everything is becoming tech-based, I actually feel like it's more important than ever to emphasize the human edge. And in my upcoming book, Humanity Works, we talk about the fact that we need soft skills like decision-making, problem-solving, interpersonal conflict resolution. And being able to use technology to help you get those skills is something that everybody's going to need to do. Because with the rise of effective computing, where computers are actually going to be able to help us with our interpersonal interactions, this is something we're going to need to know how to do because it's going to give us that competitive edge. So paradoxically, the technology is going to help us leverage the human edge. And also just being able to make sense of all the disparate sources of data that are coming at us from a variety of different sources, and being able to tell an intelligent business story from all that data. And also knowing when you shouldn't listen to your data. My favorite example that happened recently is United Airlines. Everybody heard the story about here in Chicago when they pulled that guy off the plane because the algorithm told all the United staffers that those flight attendants had to get to their destination. We just sat back and we listened to what the data said about what would be the most profitable way to proceed with this situation. Nobody looked at the nuances and said, yes, but how is it going to look from a reputation standpoint for us to make this decision? And that's the danger, Mike. That's what we need applied technology for. We need to be able to look at a situation that data is telling us and say, should we make another decision regardless of what the data says? When is it wrong? When is it misleading? That's applied technology skill at work.
Oscar Munoz, the CEO of United Airlines, spoke yesterday here at the SHRM Conference, made that very point as he looked back in retrospect on the position. Obviously, I don't think he quite grasped it at the moment it was happening, but after the fact, recognized that this was a real failure in their systems, that they left out the human element they were too focused on efficiency, upon rules and processes, on dependability, and so they went back and put in a core value around caring, to deliberately insert the human element back into their processes and how they develop people. Because as it's almost like in the future we're going to be cyborgs in a way. We have technology that's going to be doing many things for us, but yet we still need to retain that human edge in order to make sure that we're applying it in the right ways and in the right fashion, as you addressed.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
By the way, nice plug. I liked how you kind of got that in there for your book. That was well done. I'm actually looking forward to reading that. So last question I have for you. So we're talking about a tech skills gap, and I think you can think about a skills gap from two different HR disciplines. You can think about it as a recruiting problem. We need to find the people who have these particular talents that we need. Or you can think of it as a development problem. We need to develop these skills amongst our employee base. It's probably both.
Yes.
But where do you see particular emphasis needing to be placed? Is it more a recruiting problem or more a development problem? And maybe you can address that.
I definitely think it's both. I would say if forced to choose, I would say it's more of a development problem because it's a skill that everybody needs to have, and we can't just make the decision to get rid of huge swaths of our workforce because they don't have this skill set. And it's something that we have to get used to in our organizations, training people not just once, but on a regular basis. Because if you think about it, say we train people in data analytics. We do it this year in 2018. In 2020, there will be completely new software programs available that we need to train people on. So it needs to be something that's baked into the organizational infrastructure as a whole and goes on over time. And the way that we train people, there's a variety of tactics which we're going to talk about in the session today, But primarily, it's about leveraging people who already have strong applied tech skills and getting them to help design trainings that you conduct in-house. It's about providing tuition reimbursement, access to massive open online courses people can take for free, and they can learn 250 different kinds of applied technology skills that they can then take and apply to their immediate jobs. The good news is there are more resources than ever to acquire this skill set, but it does take a concerted effort on the part of the organization and on the HR department to facilitate this, to make sure it's happening, to keep track of it, to measure it, whether it's effective, and to make sure that you are leveraging the people in your organization who are strong as champions, promoting those people into leadership roles and getting them to help the cause overall.
I know you're going to get into a lot more detail at your session. It's at 4 o'clock today, right?
4 o'clock.
So if anybody's watching the live stream, I encourage you to go check out Alexandra's session at 4 today. But you mentioned sort of some tactics. Can you maybe give us just one particular tactic that you think is particularly effective? One that you've seen or see the potential in to develop these sort of applied technology skills within a company? What is one that you think works particularly well?
Well, I talked about internal development, and just for a moment I'll talk about external development and actually sourcing of applied technology skills. I love crowdsourcing. I love going out to the community and seeing people who are already doing cool things in your community that show that they understand applied technology skills. So using peer review sites, using different places where you can have a contest, where you can foster innovation summits, and see what people are already doing, what they're already bringing to the table. Because just because they're not doing it in your industry doesn't mean that it can't be applied to what you're doing in your company. And so go outside your four walls and look at where the technology skills are being fostered and growing within your larger geographic area. And I think it's a great way, and we'll talk about a case study with the city of Philadelphia later on, where they're doing just that.
Yeah, and I'd argue that the same approach, anybody in HR, whether they're talking about fostering technical skills or whether they should always be looking outside their organization, because there's a lot of innovation that's happening out there in the other companies and forward-thinking companies, and really it's HR's job not just to make sure that things are going well, that you're following rules and policies and procedures, but that you actually are developing the organization and really making it.
That's right. And Adam Grant said that this morning. He said that the best innovation often comes from looking what other people in your space are doing and building on it. Yeah. That's exactly what you want to do when it comes to applied tech.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Alexandra, for taking time to talk with us today. Good luck in your presentation.
Thank you.
Definitely encourage everybody to check that out, and also tune back in. We've got a couple of more live stream interviews we'll be doing today. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.